Top 10 Blunders That Will Go Down in History, 2020.
According to the Pratfall effect, competent people become more likable after making small mistakes. After all, everyone is prone to the odd blunder now and again. But some errors are so spectacular that they end up becoming the stuff of legend. For example, we all remember the tale of George Bell, the Excite CEO who refused to pay $750,000 for a little-known search engine called Google. And how about NASA's decision to record over the tapes of the moon landing? These mistakes remain a part of history and, while deeply embarrassing, are important to learn from. So, without further ado, we take a look at just some of the top 10 blunders that are sure to go down in history. Number 10. Fort Blunder. Stronghold Montgomery is an irregular bit of history. The United States began building the military stronghold in 1844, during a time of increased pressures with British Canada. Sitting on a little island in Lake Champlain, New York, the structure was initially intended to shield the northern frontier from attack. Work on the task was quickened during the American Civil War, as the Union worried over British mediation from the north. But Fort Montgomery rose from the cinders of its doomed archetype. During the War of 1812, the British forced a maritime bar to stop the U.S. exchanging with the French. Albeit a truce was before long reported, the Americans sloped up endeavors to secure the northern fringe, raising an impressive post along the lake. In any case, the architects committed one essential error: the structure was on some unacceptable side of the fringe. After assessors recognized the blunder, development was surrendered and local people utilized the post's limestone squares to fabricate their own homes. Thus the name Fortification Blunder was conceived. Number 9. Killing the world's oldest tree. A youthful geologist named Donald Rusk Curry will always be associated with executing the world's most seasoned living tree. As a feature of an examination concentrate into Little Ice Age occasions, the graduate understudy looked to narrative the time of bristlecone pines in White Pine County, Nevada. It was realized that bristlecones lived for a large number of years and could thusly give significant knowledge into past climatic events. So, in 1964, Curry set about gathering tree center examples close to the inclines of Wheeler Peak. The unpracticed analyst broke a few exhausting devices while taking a shot at one example, named the Prometheus tree. With time running low, Curry asked the U.S. Wood Service to chop down the tree with a cutting tool. Consent was allowed. Curry hauled part of the tree trunk back to his inn and started the challenging undertaking of assessing its rings. Following an entire 7-day stretch of tallying, he made a stunned revelation: the tree was more than 4,800 years of age. Many years after the fact, the University of Arizona's Tree Ring Lab led a more exact investigation, setting up that Prometheus was really around 5,100 years of age, the most seasoned living tree on the planet. The U.S. Timberland Service got such a great amount of fire from the occurrence that it tasked the Tree Ring Lab to locate a living example more established than Prometheus. One of the Foundation's alumni understudies spent season after season looking, in any case came up void. Number 8. Thanking Martin Luther King's killer. In 2002, city authorities in Lauderhill, Florida, were preparing for their yearly Martin Luther King Day festivities. James Earl Jones, most popular as the voice of Darth Vader, was welcome to go to the occasion as a privileged visitor. The city went the additional mile to commend the entertainer's regarded vocation, requesting a plaque recorded with the essences of persuasive dark figures. The organization liable for making the blessing, Merit Industries, should add a message expressing gratitude toward Jones for keeping the fantasy alive. But when the occasion coordinators investigated the completed item, something grabbed their eye. The engraved message read, "Thank you James Earl Ray for keeping the fantasy alive." Seeing as James Earl Ray was liable for Dr. Ruler's death in 1968, the plaque's assessments didn't go down well. After exceptional investigation, Merit Industries said it had committed an authentic error. "We have many individuals who don't communicate in English," expressed the organization's proprietor, Herbert Miller. Inadvertently, one of the young ladies, who doesn't know James Earl Jones from A Man on the Moon, coincidentally composed James Earl Ray. James Earl Jones was resolute by the episode. During an acknowledgement discourse at a neighborhood nation club, the notorious entertainer clarified how Reverend Jesse Jackson had additionally once presented him by the name of Dr. Lord's executioner. "It's a similar mistake," he added. Number 7. Slitting your own throat on stage. In 2008, the German entertainer Daniel Hovels conveyed a totally exceptional exhibition of Friedrich Schiller's Mary Stuart. During the end demonstration of the play, the 30-year-old played out a scene in which his character should end it all with a blade. Hovels, getting what he thought was a prop weapon, quickly ran the sharp edge over his neck. However, the entertainer before long found that the blade was genuine. Hovels tumbled to the floor, blood spouting from a self-delivered twisted to the throat. The crowd commended the terrible exhibition, thinking it was all important for some intricate embellishment. The willingness to accept some far-fetched situations was possibly severed when Hovels limped the stage to look for clinical attention. A specialist who treated Hovels' wounds said he was fortunate to be alive. In the event that the entertainer had squeezed the blade or even struck a corridor, he would likely have seeped to death on the stage, he clarified. The Austrian Performance Center organization, Vienna Burg Theater, said it had as of late bought the blade from a nearby store yet had neglected to dull it down. Amazingly, Hovels got back to the stage the next night, his neck enclosed by gauzes. Number 6. Broadcasting pornography at a funeral. Cardiff City Council had to apologise when one of its crematoriums inadvertently broadcast bad-to-the-bone sexual entertainment during a burial service. The hostile material was radiated to one of the showcase screens, following the Reverend's endeavours to play a recognition video to the perished. Reverend Lionel Fanthorpe possibly understood that something had turned out badly when the TV began making unforeseen noises. The Reverend apologized to his run, which at this point had accumulated round the presentation, guaranteeing he had never observed such foulness. One observer depicted the crowd's response subsequently. It was around 4 or 5 minutes before they could turn it off. Everybody couldn't accept what they were seeing. Link 11, a designer in the long run showed up and shut down the unexpected broadcast. A gathering representative said the smart TV had as of late been introduced, conjecturing that it had incidentally gotten the grown-up content by means of Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. The gathering additionally precluded the likelihood that a maverick worker had surrendered to their baser cravings. Number 5. A phone bill exceeding world debt. In 2012, a French lady opened up her telephone bill to find that she owed more than $15 quadrillion, 12 quadrillion euros. In mathematical structure, that is $15 quadrillion. To place that into viewpoint, the world obligation at present stands at $258 trillion, 258 trillion. The frightened client, Solon San Jose, called the telephone organization to clear things up. Unfortunately, the client assistance councils at Bouygues Telecom didn't perceive what all the whine was about. One administrator let me know, "It's programmed, there is no other option for me," clarified Mademoiselle Jose. Another essentially educated me that I would be reached to set up a reimbursement plan of portions. Considering the lady had recently lost her employment as an encouraging partner, the organization's reaction appeared to be a touch unkind. It turns out the charge, which ought to have perused €117.21, was the consequence of a basic printing mistake. After somewhat to and fro, the bill was ultimately toppled and the telephone organization gave a statement of regret. Number 4. Destroying a museum piece for a movie shoot. The Hateful Eight saw Kurt Russell fill the boots of an endured abundance tracker named John Ruth. While moving a known killer over the snow-beat piles of Wyoming, a snowstorm powers Ruth's gathering to dig in a close-by holdup. Because of his abundance's unremitting singing, The Abundance tracker ultimately takes a 6-string guitar and crushes it against a wooden shaft. Music time's finished, Ruth snarls. Yet, unbeknownst to Kurt Russell, the guitar was an indispensable 145-year-old exhibition hall piece, which the studio was acquiring from the Martin Guitar Museum. If you watch the clasp intently, Russell's co-star, Jennifer Jason Leigh, breaks character during the scene. She clarified the mistake in an ongoing meeting. "I don't think Quentin realized that it was the vintage instrument. He needed to play one scene in the film progressively without a cut, in one long take. Kurt felt horrendous, he had no clue. At the point when he discovered, his eyes in a real sense welled up." According to an individual from the creation group, the scene should end not long before Kurt crushed the guitar. Shooting would then resume after the instrument, which was esteemed at $40,000, was supplanted with an imitation. The proprietors of the Guitar Exhibition Hall said the studio had not sufficiently clarified the occurrence, basically asserting the thing had been wrecked in a mishap. Considering the episode, the historical center cases it will never again advance its guitars to the film business again. At number 3. Doing a Ratner. In 1991, the administrator of a spending adornments chain conveyed a discourse so calamitously misguided that it executed his organization. Gerald Ratner conveyed the discourse to a meeting of his companions at the Royal Albert Hall in London. The British finance manager called attention to that his organization, Ratner's Group, had made an astounding £120 million in benefits, a great accomplishment given that a large part of the Western world had been dove into a recession. But he at that point made the error of investigating his own items, portraying a 6-piece sherry decanter in under positive terms. Individuals state to me, "How might you sell this for such a low value?" I state to them, "Since it's complete poop." Link 18. He proceeded, "We even sell a couple of studs for under £1, gold hoops, too. Also, a few people say, well, that is less expensive than a prawn sandwich from Marks and Spencer's. But I need to state that the sandwich will most likely last more than the earrings." The press immediately got wind of the business magnate's comments, censuring him for ridiculing average clients. The terrible exposure, joined with the progressing downturn, saw the estimation of the organization plunge by around $750 million and prompted many store terminations. Mr. Ratner, the same number of media sources have since named him, lost his situation as organization executive, and Ratner's had to change its name to Signet Group. The discourse is presently so celebrated in business circles that the articulation "doing a Ratner" is frequently used to portray industry botches. Number 2. Burning down hundreds of acres of woodland. Johnny Cash has a fairly celebrated past with regards to criminal bad behavior. While living in the Grand Network of Casitas Springs, California, the notorious vocalist chose to go on a fishing trip with his nephew, Damon Fielder. As per Fielder, Cash had taken a mixed drink of bourbon and medications during an excursion to the Los Padres National Forest. While there, the two had a spat over Cash's medication propensities, provoking Fielder to stomp off in an attack of rage. After seeing a huge crest of smoke not too far off, the adolescent got back to discover his uncle on his knees endeavoring to quench a thundering fire. Defender begged Cash to leave the territory for his own well-being. At the point when the vocalist won't, Fielder attempted, and neglected, to utilize a tree limb to thump Cash oblivious. The hellfire spread rapidly, tearing through more than 500 sections of land of forest and ruining to a safe house for settling condors. The forest turned into a hive of action, with many firemen, Navy Seabees, and forestry laborers uniting to battle the disaster. Only Johnny Cash understood what happened that pivotal night. He guaranteed the fire was begun when a harmed wheel bearing from his truck kicked hot oil onto a fix of grass. However, Fielder accepts the burst began after Cash attempted, in a medication-confused daze, to make his own off-the-cuff pit fire. Money demonstrated little regret during his statement. When inquired as to whether he had caused the fire, Cash reacted, "No. My truck did, and it's dead, so you can't address it. The central government sued the Arkansas legend for over $120,000, with cash in the end settling the case for $82,000. Number 1. Making Hitler a state spy. As a component of the peace negotiation of World War I, the Allies forced severe conditions on Germany. The ambushed country pulled out its soldiers on all fronts, turned over its monstrous store of weapons, and acknowledged Allied powers positioned along the Rhine. On top of this, the Germans were hit with a $37 billion reparations bill. A baffled Adolf Hitler would proceed to function as an insight official, Verbindungsmann, for the German armed force. He was entrusted with penetrating the German Workers' Party, DAP, in 1919, as the military's VIP needed to watch out for the gatherings as far as anyone knows Marxist leanings. Hitler found something altogether unique, nonetheless. The gathering hawked hostile to Semitic, ultranationalist promulgation and shunned both socialism and free enterprise. Hitler was immediately tempted by these goals, glutting on the gathering chief's political leaflet, My Political Awakening. Hitler's bosses gave him the green light to join the DAP, and the rest is history. While Hitler was released from the military in March 1920, he kept participating in party governmental issues. He immediately accepted unlimited authority over the DAP, changing its name to the National Socialist German Workers' Party, Nazi Party, and began conveying talks to a huge number of obsessive allies. The Nazis held onto power in 1933, changing the world for eternity. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more videos.